Welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I'm Aidan,
Not Michael.
and we are here to talk about, I'd say, probably the biggest story happening in America this week. That's right, Pat Kavanagh has been traded from the Boston Cannons to the Denver Outlaws for the third overall pick in this coming draft in 2025 and a second round pick in 2026. You may have noticed that voice and name there was not Jack. We brought on Michael from the Roughriders, the Denver Outlaws support group. We may be joined by a few more people later on, but we just couldn't wait any longer to get this out to you people. So, um, again, Pat Kavanagh for the third overall pick and a second round pick in 2026. We'll see where that pick winds up being. Michael, what were your initial impressions when you saw this news?
Yeah, so first, before we get into this, we just want to say we appreciate having us on.
Oh
We
yeah,
know how much effort you guys have put into this podcast. What episode is this? I think you guys are
37. This is
okay.
crazy.
Yeah, so
First
you guys
time
are
out.
up there.
38.
We definitely appreciate you having us on. I know Max did an episode with you guys, so we're on here now. But I feel like I'm gonna have the blue check mark after being on this podcast with you. So we're excited. But yeah, going back to the trade. I was at work and then I got a text from our group chat and they said the trade went through and I thought I was like, okay, it's not April 1st. Like, is this a joke? What's going on? Because there's no way you guys get rid of Pat Cav.
Yeah.
So I kept like checking everything and I mean it was so soon that like I'm Googling it, I can't find anything, searching everywhere, and then sure enough, like it just started going. I'm getting texts. We're shocked. I mean, this is kind of like when we got Eric Law from that list almost.
Yeah.
It's another reunion of a famous last name for the Outlaws. So we're stoked, we're excited. How are you guys feeling over there in Boston?
It's definitely a mixed bag. The so thank you to everyone who reacted to that post on our story today. It's for sure it's like the most interaction we've gotten on anything. The people are passionate about this. I would say the overwhelming impression is negative. Um, obviously he was such a highly touted prospect out of college, and it really felt like fate that he landed in the Cannons' laps, especially with his older brother playing here. Um, that being said, I personally am not too broken up. I certainly don't say this to light a fire under him the next time he plays the Cannons, although I'm sure I'll have one. Um, but I thought, they drafted him to be an attackman, I think, and especially when his older brother didn't have a great season kind of for the second year in a row with the Cannons, that maybe he would take that over. I know he's not a natural lefty, but he's certainly comfortable playing with his left hand. And that sour taste of seeing Matt Campbell and Chris Islanian play attack in the Cannons' last two games of the year. Um, yeah, and him feeling more comfortable at midfield, like that was the biggest. That lefty attack spot's the biggest question the Cannons have going into next season, and it's a bigger question now because I got to think Matt is probably not coming back because I know playing together was important to them as a family. Although I really can't think of a team he's less suited to play on than the Outlaws with the two big lefties that they have that you guys have. Um, but I'm optimistic. I mean, the third overall pick, so they now have third and fourth in this upcoming draft, which is a crazy amount of capital for a team to have. Um, I don't think that there is well, I believe CJ Curse is left-handed. He's going to be gone by three for sure. So maybe the plan is to try to move up to one and get him. Although I don't think that not the Atlas, the Water Dogs, like they don't want to make a trade to help the Cannons get better.
No.
So I think it's going to be they're either going to reach for someone in the first round of taking, a lefty attackman who might have gone a little later, or they will address it in the second round, or yeah, because they don't have a third round pick, so the second round and and see who they get in the with that third and fourth pick. Um, yeah, I mean, it certainly made drafting more exciting. We'll definitely say that.
Yeah, I think our biggest thing too is like getting Pat was interesting for us because obviously after going after Eric Law, that was huge
Yeah.
for us. And then Logan going out with it, I think it was like the second week, first week. That was a huge blow to us. So I think it adds depth. I think, like you said, we do have a lot of lefties now. So people are asking, like, hey, does Eric Law play? Do we keep Logan? Does Logan? I've heard rumors of him going to the Whips. He's obviously a Maryland boy. I don't think he'd be upset going back there. I've also heard him going back to Boston. So that'd be interesting. Obviously, it wouldn't be a trade for Kavanagh for Wisakas. That's kind of, I think, one-sided, very heavy. But with both lefties, I think it will be interesting. Obviously Eric Law has a huge history with the Kavanagh family. He played with both the brothers here in Denver. So the way I see it is maybe he coaches them. He coaches Pat
Mm.
and he's like, hey, I did it with your brother, Brendan and Matt. So that's the only way I see it working. Like I said, it's a huge pickup for us. We're excited. Like I said, with the amount of lefties we have, we're pretty one-sided offense now, I
Yeah.
feel like. So
Well, just clarification. Pat's natural hand, he is a natural righty.
okay.
So yeah, he's playing his offhand. Um, yeah, it's funny that you brought up Wisnauskas, because that thought had crossed my mind. Like, he seems not superfluous for the Outlaws, but
Hmm.
obviously you want Brennan O'Neill playing down at attack, which is also Wisnauskas' spot. So, given that he's a free agent, he didn't play last year. You guys did fine. Um, that certainly opens things up. The whips would make sense for all those reasons you said. But then instead you got Rambo and Malone to contend with, and I don't think he's pushing either
Right.
of them off. So for him to play next year, I feel like Boston is the best fit for him. We certainly would embrace that. Help break up that three Tuaraton winner attack line you guys got going right now.
Right.
Where do you see him playing on your roster next year? Uh, Pat Kavanagh, that is.
I think that's a great question. I think we need to see what happens with Law.
Yeah,
I think if we keep him, obviously, which we want to, Law's been a huge addition for us. But it is one of those questions like, do you want O'Neal and Kavanaugh on the field together?
yeah,
It's gonna be sweet. And then I think it also decides if Logan stays. So, I think those would be our top three. Would be obviously you're keeping O'Neal.
yeah,
I'd like for us to keep. Obviously we'll keep Cav, keep O'Neal. Um, I'd love to see him start. I just don't know what they do. So,
yeah,
uh, I think he's a starter, but we'll see what Sudan does. I mean, he's done some crazy things this year.
yeah,
I don't know if he just kind of coaches him underneath Law and they'll sub him in, or Law becomes a sub. I don't know. So we definitely want to see a ton of plays with him. We definitely want to see him play a lot more often. So we're not really sure yet. Like I said, obviously we're still trying to digest the trade. But so I think my biggest thing for you guys, I don't know what's really coming in the next couple of years draft wise. I think if there was a time to do this trade, it would have been last year with how stacked this previous draft
yeah.
was. So I'm not really sure where you guys go with the draft. I think we kind of knew we weren't going to get anything good. So I think that's kind of why we not per se traded the farm, but we gave you guys quite a few picks for this. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think the consensus I could only find one kind of way too early 2025 draft. And the consensus seems to be that it's mostly after CJ Kirst, the defensive players are the strongest part of the draft. Which I think is also something that I'm sure Denver wants to address with you know not necessarily a young group with Manley and Giles Harris isn't that old, but and Jesse Bernhardt. But if you felt like you're one big offensive piece away, um, and Pat Kavanaugh's definitely that piece. And he did also say the reason he wasn't playing attack is because he felt more comfortable playing midfield in the PLO, which was really surprising to me, given that he played all over, but it really felt like he was an ex attackman, or at least a down low attackman. Um, so it's going to be really fun to watch this training camp, see where all these pieces fit in. We haven't mentioned Josh Zawada, but he was kind of the other attack, or him and Cross Ferrara.
yep.
Um, so one of those guys is not, assuming Pat wants to go back down at righty attack, or if Law retires, um, then I guess one of Zawada or Ferrara, or I don't know. If he plays in the midfield, who would you see coming out for him? I can't.
The only person I could possibly see just for chemistry would be Zawada. Obviously,
Yeah,
playing at Duke with O'Neal, they have history. It's kind of like Dyson. What's his last name? Dyson.
Williams.
Yeah, Williams. He played with him too at Duke.
Yeah,
And they had that connection. So I could see Zawada going up, and then they put Pat Cav at mid. But that's really the only person I see because Cross could do it for sure, but he's still pretty good on defense. Where I think Zawada's a little weaker. So like I said, I think the best option for us would be if they move Zawada up. But like I said, I think if you have an attack with O'Neal and Cav, like you're unstoppable. But I
yeah.
think we're at that point now where if you have that much talent, all eyes are on us now. Like we have to do something with this. Like we can't finish this low in our division again. So
Yeah, oh, absolutely. The expectation has got to be at least the division, and
100%.
hopefully for you guys a final. A Boston Denver finals. I think the league and the fans themselves would for sure love that.
I think we've been waiting for this since like ever. So
Yeah. Because when was the last time that the old Outlaws won? It was like 20, is it 16, 17,
18.
18? Yeah, that's right. It was like the even years, I think. It was like 14, 16, 18, something like that.
Yep, 14, 16, 18, then almost 2020, but we lost that one. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, I would love to see it. I'm not if it's against the Cannons for obvious reasons. But this game, the whenever the Boston Denver game is, that is going to be a huge one. That
It's gonna
I
be yeah.
Yeah, I think the PLL, depending on when the PLL will try to, I think, to get that on linear cable. Hopefully, no, I don't know. They might put it at one of our homecomings. We'll see. That would be a fun Denver homecoming, even though it's not like they tried to do some divisional games for that. It's going to be, it's another huge story to follow for this upcoming year, and in a time where, it's really a dead zone. Like Jack and I were talking at our last episode, or maybe before we started, that like once the season's over, it's like what do we do now? Um, we're waiting for news. There's no games, obviously. Not even any college. Well, there's fall ball, but nothing that counts.
Right.
Keep these trades coming. 'Cause it certainly makes things more exciting for us, the fans. I think that's something as well that the PLL would benefit from, is like a lot of hype around free agency and trades and stuff like this. And I don't think it's free agency. No, it's no free agency yet. I think it's just teams can sign their own free agents. Like we saw McCardle sign today, Holman
Right.
signed I think
Yep.
yesterday. Um,
Which McCardle
one,
surprised me. I'm surprised he's not trying to hop out and just experience something else for maybe another year before he retires because he's starting to get up there. He's been playing for a while.
he is, yeah. I think that's maybe another case of where is he going to find a better fit to play and to start. And the only other place I can think of is Boston, but I don't think he wants to come to Boston.
I don't know if you guys could lure him in. Obviously, you can't now because he's gone. But
Yeah.
like I said, if I think free agency coming up, there's some interesting players out there. I know Nacklemore's out there, so I'll be curious to
Yep.
see who's playing some if the Redwoods don't. The Redwoods are another team, just tremendous talent, but they just can't convert.
Yeah.
So I'd be surprised if they're not going to try to like start putting some people on the chopping block, see like what they can get if they can start getting some picks. But kind of like you said, we've over here in Denver, we've been dying without the season, so we're looking forward to the Mammoth. So we've started a page for that, so we're
Yep.
we're ramping up for box season. So when this came through, I was actually making an edit for our indoor team and came through, and I was like, all right, we're back. So because like you said, the
Absolutely.
content creation, trying to keep the fans riled up, and we have to wait all the way till May, which kills us. But like you said, I love the news. Um, it's huge for us, so we're stoked. And I think next May when we start training camp, we'll see what happens. So
Yeah. I think the most immediate negative for me, not immediate, obviously, is I was really looking forward to seeing him play in sixes.
yes,
And we won't see that for at least one more year. I would love to see the Outlaws go back. Obviously, as the Chrome, we're the first
yep,
ever Champ Series winners. Um, so that's going to be a bummer because I think his skill set, all of these shifty offensive players would translate really well. And especially you saw how hard that final was, how much the Cannons and Water Dogs hated each other. I think
yep,
That's the quintessential Kavanaugh energy. Um,
100%, yeah.
yeah. So, fingers crossed you guys finish in the top four this upcoming year and we get to see that presence. Not at the expense of the Cannons, obviously, but I think again, as many times as you can get Boston, Denver, kind of the oldest rivalry in the
Oh
league,
yeah.
would be fantastic.
When like you said, I think it's two teams that like really respect each other. We have a ton of history. We've been around for a long time. Obviously, Paul playing with you guys forever. And then him and me saying like Denver's been special. Like we had the Fourth of July games.
Yeah.
We do carry the most history. So like that's why I think we partnered up very well. That's why we hate New York.
Yep.
We're gonna keep it that way. You know what I mean? Like I said, we're the oldest ones, and a lot of people give us flack for it, but I love it. But yeah, like I said, it's crazy for us. We're just gonna stay tuned. This gets us more riled up for the season. Like I said, I want to see how he fits in. It's gonna be a lot of changes. So, like I said, I guess we'll just stay tuned and hope for the best. I
Yeah.
just, I just still can't believe that was enough to get Pat off your guys' hands. Like, I'm just curious, like after the Carolina Chaos game for you guys, if he was right on the chopping block, if they're like, hey, we know Matt's not performing, we can get rid of Pat and get some picks. Like, was that what was going through their head, or like
Hmm.
what? How did they get here to be like, hey, we'll entertain this from the Outlaws? I would have thought we'd have to trade a little more capital, like at least a player.
Yeah, I am surprised too. I mean, you can also look at it in the sense they got him for the sixth overall pick. They're getting the third overall pick and somewhere between
True.
9 and 18. So, in that sense, you're getting value, but also, he was looked at before this draft as like a franchise cornerstone type of player. Um, and we'll see if he becomes that in Denver, or I think if the player the can like if one or both of those players the Cannons get at 3 and 4, assuming they stay with those picks and don't trade them again, don't come out to be uh as good or better, at least from like some statistical standpoints as Pat Kavanagh. I think this will definitely go down as like an infamous PLL trade, which I think is also good. I think most leagues, like you think of the oh, why can't I think of his name? The running back for the Vikings who ran for
Dalvin
Senate.
Cook.
No, the old one who just ran for Senate in Georgia and went crazy. Um,
Oh,
Herschel Walker. There we go. The Herschel
there you
Walker
go.
trade.
Okay.
Like
Yep.
this is obviously not nearly as lopsided as that, but if the Cannons take two guys who don't wind up securing like long PLL careers and Pat Cav goes on to win 3 championships with the Outlaws, then um,
Right.
we'll
When I
have
don't think it's like lopsided like a Patrick Waugh trade like we did in '96, right? Like all of a
oh
sudden they're
yeah,
trading like basically nobody. We get Patrick Waugh, we win the Stanley Cup. That'd be ideal for us, like you guys trade Pat Calf to us. Like you said, I think all of us, like for the draft, I pretty much thought every guy was gonna be a franchise guy. Like we got O'Neal,
yeah,
Alex got Schellenberger, then got their goalie with Liam. Then Ajax and then Shane. I thought then obviously you guys Pat Kavanagh and Matt Brando going to the Underdogs. I thought for sure like, hey, this is our future. The only equivalency I can give this is like growing up. Like we had the Philip Rivers days,
mm,
the Peyton Manning days. Like we grew up with quite possibly some of the best quarterbacks, franchise quarterbacks. And to me, it kind of felt like this draft was that for us. It was like, hey, the league's getting bigger. We have our franchise guys, and Pat Cav going there with his brother. Like it was written all over the walls. He was going, and he did, and it was like it's over.
yeah.
Like I said, when the trade went through, I mean, I honestly didn't believe it for a good hour until like all this stuff started rolling in. So we're still in shock. Like I said, I'm still trying to pinch myself. So
Yeah, it really is crazy. I think it'll take a while to figure out. I just wish the season wasn't so far away because I really just want to see
yes,
how this affects the Outlaws. And obviously how it affects the Cannons with who they draft. But yeah, I'm just so curious. Let me just pull up the roster. I don't know if Kavanaugh is included in there yet, but just to
yeah.
remind
So
myself,
he's on the Denver roster. Let's see here.
um, classic podcasting. Everyone looking at their phones. So yeah, attack was Nauskas, Law. They do have Kavanaugh and then O'Neill. And then so you got to think, well, if Wisnauskas doesn't play or gets traded, then that I guess is your attack. We have Law at X, O'Neill on left, and Kavanaugh on the right. If he wants to play midfielder, that's a little more complicated. Um,
I
oh,
mean, you have
that's
to look at your attack and be like, where does he fit in this, right? So Marcus Holman, absolute monster.
yeah,
He's phenomenal. Matt Kavanagh, Will Manning, who had a great year as well. Asher, who I mean, just absolute tank.
yeah.
I mean?
I
Like
think
as long as he has the ball,
second
you're
in
not
points the
stopping
last
him.
2 years.
What I mean? So it's kind of like where does he fit? I think you kind of want the big brother thing with Matt. But say if Matt's not working either, I wonder, is he on a 1 year contract right now?
I believe he is a free agent. Yeah. So
Maybe we pick him up too.
like that's actually the first thing that Jack sent to me when this happened. But like I said earlier, I can't think of a place he fits less than Denver for this exact same reason.
I could
Um,
definitely see that. Yep.
that either O'Neill or Zawada is going to be lefty attack, and Matt Cav shouldn't be playing midfield. So if he wants to do maybe like what Will Manny did of kind of being like a midseason pickup, a guy who doesn't necessarily get on the field, maybe he hangs it up, or maybe the Cannons do bring him back. The like I said, the lefty attack spot is for sure the biggest question mark in the Cannons, and as of now, assuming it's either Matt Kavanagh, it's Mike Robinson, who the Cannons picked up as an undrafted free agent, and played 1 game, or it's someone they're going to pick up in the draft this year. So that still leaves a lot of question marks and a lot of opportunities for anyone to earn their spot. Oh, and Will Manny. Sorry, how could I not include Will Manny in that? Yeah, so it's Matt Cav, Will Manny, Mike Robinson, potential free agent. or draft pick. Which I mean, I hope they bring in Zawada. I hope they at least try. Um,
I think they give it a try
sorry,
with
I didn't mean Zawada. It was
he's
Nauskas.
promising. And I think his connection with O'Neal was unreal. You know, like the first two games we really saw, then he kind of petered out the rest of the season. But I think we saw it in O'Neal and Zawada. I think they saw that it's a different game. You
Yeah,
know, they even make comments like how much quicker the sport is. So hopefully they really settle in. I feel like Kavanaugh settled in really well.
yeah.
Like I
I know I
said,
meant to say I meant to say Wisnauskas. I hope the Cannons bring in Logan Wisnauskas.
oh yeah, yeah. I think that'd be interesting. That'd be really
Yeah,
interesting because I really liked him. Obviously he had that one really good game for us and then was injured. But now I'm kind of curious, is he injury prone? Is he, because I could also see us keeping him and doing some moves too. But
yeah. I want to look up his college stats because I think he was when he went to the Chrome, he was also kind of thought of as like a franchise cornerstone type player. I mean, he won the
he was.
Torazon.
Yep.
But I just want to see how much like he had an incredible senior year on one of the greatest college lacrosse teams ever. I think they'd beat PLL teams on a lot of days.
100%. Yeah, that Maryland team was unreal. How old
Yeah.
is Pat Kavanagh now?
He's going into second year, but he did a grad year, so he's 23 or 24 at the oldest, gotta be. Um, let's see. Still looking up this now, guess. Career.
We'll say he's 24. Eric Law 33. Brad O'Neill 22.
Is O'Neal only 22?
That's what they have him as. So
Wow.
off math, if you calculate, and granted you have five players on your listed for attack on PLL, your guys' average age is 29.5. With Pat Cav, that puts us at an average age of 26.25. So that puts it, I'm guesstimating he's 24. Now, if we drop Law, for example, like if he assumes coaching or something else, divided by three. If we drop if we drop Law, it puts us an average age of 24. So
Yeah.
that's an extremely young attack that I think you can build around. And not to mention our midfield is super, super young. I think we just need to lock up. Like you said, Bernhard got hurt. Manley's getting up there. He's still playing box. That's taxing on you.
Yeah. Oh, I did not
Um,
realize he was still playing in the NLL.
yeah, he's playing for the Georgia Swarm.
Wow.
Um, so I think, possibly try to look for something there. McElroy played great, but we might need some depth in goalie.
Yeah.
Um, Sean was kind of slipping, so I think we need to address some couple things before we're fully there. The Archers are a tough team, especially in our division. Then obviously for you guys, the Stampede, the way they played this year, I mean, absolutely unreal.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that second game against New York really encouraged me. I mean, obviously the Cannons won, but specifically with holding that attack trio of Dixon, Schellenberger, and Teat to I think it was three combined points. It was like
Yes.
goals, one assist, one goal, two assists. Um, I feel encouraged about that. I do think, I mean, there's always places to improve. Um, but yeah, the that cannon spot. I mean, like Matt Cav, like you said, is up in age. Holman is up in age, so but he's also the coach's son, so I don't think he's going anywhere as long as his dad's the head coach. Excuse me, not to say that that's any nepotism or anything that he didn't
Not
deserve.
LeBron and
He
Bronny.
is well and truly earned his spot as really one of the greatest shooters of all time. Um, but I think they can use this as an opportunity to get younger on attack, is what I'll say. And if you listen to the episodes from this past summer, you know how much Jack loves Will Manny. But Manny's also like 34. So
Yep.
if he
Man, he's up
comes and
there.
has a season and the Cannons win the championship, no one would love that more than the two of us. But it's definitely not a long-term solution. Whereas, Mike Robinson, or you draft someone else. I think Coulter Mackesy was one of the big names. Sam King from Harvard, unfortunately, is right-handed, so he would not fit in because he's also been having an incredible last couple of years in the Ivy League. Um, or yeah, well, we don't need to go through all those names now. We have plenty of time. Or I mean, obviously, if they could trade up and get CJ Kirst,
I mean,
add
that'd be huge.
yeah, a third brother to the team because and the Cannons did have such great family vibes.
I
Um,
mean, do you think that's your guys' strategy now? Like, obviously, it seems like you're accumulating some good picks.
yeah,
I mean, you sell the house and say, hey, take all of these and you'll take someone huge. Or do you think you just kind of build your team from here? Like, is this a rebuild year for you guys, or is this, which I don't understand a rebuild because you guys had a phenomenal year last year. You had a
yeah,
really good year. Like you said, you even beat New York and held that trio to 3 points. where I kind of felt like this is a rebuild for us. We have a lot of young talent mixed with veteran talent and then brand new team. I felt like if anything, this was a rebuild for us compared to like I just don't associate Battery with a rebuild.
No, I mean, I think honestly, the only team I can see not really competing and needing to kind of tear things down going into next year is the Redwoods.
Yes,
Um, I think Bill Tierney for Philly does want to do a little bit of kind of, I mean, I'm about to say rebuild of like reworking the team kind of in his fit, but we know how good all those same players were 2 years ago that there's no reason to think that they're going to go what it was 2-8 again. So I think, I mean, the Cannons have got to do the due diligence of asking what it would take to move up to one overall. I think Philly is the least likely team to want to give that pick up specifically because of who they'd be helping. Um, but also, like, doesn't CJ Kurse kind of play the same position as Michael Sowers? And they just re-signed McCardle.
Cardinal. Yep,
And I mean, Ethan Walker didn't have a great season. You know, he plays in the NLL too. Maybe he just has that wear and tear in his body. But I believe Walker is right-handed and Kurst is left-handed. So like if that's not a fit, like I don't know. I think we've seen, and this has been something that, well, it's a slightly different issue, but it's been something that annoys me is professional lacrosse tends to draft a bunch of attackmen because they score the most points and then put a lot of them in midfield. And that just doesn't work for everyone's game. I think I give so much credit to someone like Ryan Drenner, who started as an ex-attackman, is now a fantastic dodging midfielder. Um,
100%.
but that's definitely the exception rather than the rule. Um, so if Kavanagh truly feels more comfortable doing that, then all props to him. But um, for the Water Dogs, I gotta assume if they're going to draft CJ Kirsten and like that they are, then you got to have a plan to put him down low.
Well, that's the thing too, and I think you can agree when I say this, but the Water Dogs have to be the best 2-8 team. I
Oh,
mean,
for
I
sure.
just don't understand. Like Bill Tierney, obviously, he's famous with us. One of the greatest DU coaches that we've seen. And I thought for sure when they got Bill, it was over. I was like, Water
Yeah,
Dogs are going for it. Just having that much talent on your team and to perform the way they did. It's kind of how I feel with the Redwoods too. Obviously they have John Grant Jr., who is a huge name for us as well, as one of their coordinators, and to see them play the way they did too with Rob Pennell. I
yeah,
remember growing up watching them play at Cornell and play the way they did too. So it's kind of like what teams are rebuilding, what teams aren't. Like I said, I think we're at the phase where it's like you make it or break it. I think New York is at that point too. Like, hey, you have this much talent, you need to win.
yeah,
I think as of today, we swapped from rebuild to like make it or break it, grabbing Pat. I think Chaos are there too. I
yeah.
think Chaos, like you're so stacked, you're playing well. Blaze, I mean, is an absolute brick wall. Like I said, with you guys stepping into the quote unquote rebuild, that was like a shock to all of us. And I think I really thought you guys were maybe a year away, 2 years away from winning the championship. Maybe you still are, but I think getting rid of Pat, I don't know. And it sounds like they might go to Matt too, depending on how things shake up. So
Yeah, I mean the getting held to 4 goals in the final, playoff game there was a shock you know, to be frank. That clearly the offense did not function the way it was supposed to. And I think part of that is, well, just having Chris Islani in there who has not played attack probably since college or high school. Um, and then, speaks more broadly to just not having the personnel you need. And hopefully in this draft they can get it. I do wish that we had the depth that this last draft had offensively. To see that there was that consensus going to be a star lefty attackman specifically. Um, but we'll see. I mean, we saw what TJ Malone did in the third round. I think most people would say he fell too far. Cross Ferrara was undrafted. Ethan Rawl obviously undrafted. Defensive side of the ball, but you can absolutely
Dalton
find.
Young was undrafted. We scooped him up.
Yeah, it's not like you need to be drafted in the first round to be a star in the league, but just the fact that there isn't like that people aren't saying, oh, traded Pat Kavanagh, they got these picks, now clearly they're going to take this guy. That's the only thing that really gives me pause. That most of the names being listed are defensive players, and I also think it's great to have another LSM behind Ethan Rawl. Um, but that was definitely not the side of the field that I felt worried about
No.
going into this offseason. Um, All right. I mean, I think we covered probably everything we needed to cover here. Um, so hopefully, if you're a Cannons fan listening to this, and you probably are, you feel maybe a little bit more positive uh, than you felt going into, when you first heard this news, because like I said, this is our most interacted with posts or anything ever, and a lot of the responses were just sad or not good. Um, a couple positive ones, a couple people were encouraged. One guy did actually suggest the plan to get Levi Virch, who was I think an LSM
I did
at
see that one. Yeah, that was crazy.
and we'll see. Like you need really five good polls. They got Jack Hilty coming back. As kind of the captain of that defense that maybe bumps Cade Van Raphorst up, and whether it's Craig Chick or Jake Pulver kind of out of the lineup, but you know, more more youth, more competition for spots. Like either Levi Virch is better than one of the poles and he starts, and that's fantastic, or he's not, and that means we still have five fantastic poles playing defense. So, um, I'd planned we were going to try to reach out to Coach Holman again in January, kind of before Champ Series. Get a plan for that. I really wish that we'd had a chance to talk to him in the very near future, but I think with the holidays coming up and travel, and fun fact, the day we're recording this, the day the trade happened, it's also his anniversary. So, um, busy day. Glad he got it done in the morning.
Yep, yep.
Hope you're having a wonderful dinner, or already did, Coach. And we really cannot wait to talk to you again. And this will, like how when we talked the second time, Will Manny was the first thing we brought up. I think Pat Kavanagh is going to be 100% the first thing we bring up. Um, yeah. So, Michael, thank you very much for coming on. It was great to hear the Denver perspective. Like I said, I cannot wait for that game, Cannons Outlaws, whenever it is. Um, we'll see. I mean, if they meet in the playoffs, and that would be just an extra little cherry on top.
It's gonna
Um,
happen. I'm putting it out there.
yeah, that is going to be no, the PLL is going to really hype that game up. I mean, they might even put it opening weekend. Um,
That'd be sweet.
yeah, cannot wait. I mean, we'll be in touch long before then, but we will have sure a lot of good-natured trash talking going back and forth. Congratulations to the Outlaws. You did get a fantastic player. Um, and we'll see. Hopefully, this is one of those trades that people talk about in a while that both teams got a lot better from.
Absolutely. And like I said, I appreciate you guys having us. Like I said, I know how much work you guys put into this, and every episode is phenomenal. So to be able to hop on and be one of your guests with your star-studded cast here, we do appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll take care of Pat. So we appreciate him. Tell your coach thanks for that.
Yep.
You want me to hop on with your coach call? I'll personally thank him, then I'll hop off so I don't cause a scene. But yeah, like I said, we appreciate you guys. Thank you for hopping us on in the emergency cab
Yeah.
meeting. For us, it's a celebratory. But yeah, I wish you guys the best, and we're ready for the season.
Yeah. All right. Good luck.
Good luck, Aidan.